DLCs. Here's another news review. There are many important things to talk about. The black flowers, the city town delay, the mail that disappeared, things like that. But just so you know, there are separate videos about what happened with the black flowers that I will link up there. And also I made another video for everything about city town delay. So we'll just briefly talk about that, but I encourage you to go watch the full videos, and everything here is new information that we got since I filmed those videos. Let's go. This time's community showcase is actually Chelsea. In the I made this, Chelsea shared something she is making. I'm currently in the process of priming the boy, and it's to her version of 3D printed, maybe? Big challenges! That's so cool! Swampy said, "We have been monitoring performance issues on the Nintendo Switch, and we are hoping to optimize performance to make playing Hello Kitty Island Adventure a smoother, more enjoyable experience for everyone. We are working to fix some performance and crashing issues in the near future. In the meantime, here are some things that you can do to prevent common performance issues. Start new sessions when resuming play. Close the game completely and launch again. Don't return to the main menu and enter another game. Every time you want to start a new session, you should close all the way out again. The longer the play session is, the more likely you may crash. If you're noticing you are crashing after 30 amounts of minutes, try to save your game a few minutes before, close and reopen. If you have had your game session open for a long time and try to take a selfie/picture, it's more likely for your game to crash. If you had a picture objective for the quest and are worried your game will crash, we recommend saving and restarting a new session, close the game completely and launch again. In the meantime, we thank you for your patience." Swampy said in a heads up, "The CU 3.1 patch is now live on Steam. Here are some of the things that are fixed and addressed in this update. Kogemion conch should no longer be in the world if a player has not purchased the Wheatflour DLC. This conch can now be found in Wheatflour Wonderland. If you picked up after purchasing and do not see it in your inventory, you can find it in Wheatflour Wonderland." Oh, maybe if you picked it up and you did not give it back, that's it, maybe. The Heart of Grain quest now requires Wish Me Mel to be at level 16, which unlocks the flower crown recipe. If you are stuck on this quest and do not have her at level 16, the step to create the Wheatflower crown is automatically skipped. That's an issue because apparently this is not fixed on Switch yet. Now all the flashing and other visual bugs and glitches are being fixed. Well, apparently all the glitches and flashing lights and all the visual things have been patched on Steam since about 2 weeks ago, but still not on Switch, and that's the issue, but we'll learn later why that is. For Switch specifically, we're currently blocked on updating it until our Switch 2 work gets through the pipeline. That's why we haven't been able to address the flashing issues. So that's very interesting because before they said, oh, we cannot talk about Switch 2 yet. And apparently since before the release of Wheatflour Wonderland, they had the Switch 2 update in the review pipeline with Switch. That's almost like a month. Only one thing can be in the review approval pipeline at once. Switch 2 has been in the pipeline since before we had fixes for any of the Wheatflour Wonderland issues. Has to get through before we can make any other update. And no, we can't pull the Switch 2 update and start over with the fixes. Swampy announced, City Splendor is here. The 2.10 update is now available to download on Apple Arcade. It's time to give Usahana a tour of Friendship Island, tour the Spooky Swamp, throw a Rockadoodle party, and so much more. Plus meet Kawaii, one of Red's co-worker, who is always hunting for the latest gossip. 2.10 also include tons of quality of life updates such as sorting in Die Station, sorting for comic and music disc, and the ability to favorite items in your inventory. It's time to get organized. Kawaii and all the quality of life updates are going to be in CU4 in mid-December. And the rest will be in City Town when it comes. Sunblink said in an announcement, City Town update, a super long post, mostly to tell you that they did a City Town closed beta with the goal of launching Part 1 on Switch, PC and PS5 by the end of the year. However, feedback from the beta made it clear we still have a significant amount of work to do in order to reach the level of quality this release and our player deserve. We'll always try to deliver the best experience possible. We'd like to integrate the feedback and our learnings from Wheatflour Wonderland to make City Towns the best it can be, rather than rush it out before it's ready. With that in mind, we'll update our roadmap. City Town DLC is now planned for next year. are likely around Q2 2026, April and June, and will be a single paid release. For Kid Player, the next major update 2.11 will include substantial changes to City Town. For Switch, PS5, PC, our free update CU4 will be coming mid-December. I'll let you read the whole thing, and I made a full video about talking about this, about the price, about the delay, about the reaction from the community, and the lengthy answer from Sunblink. I'm not going to talk about it here, it will be linked at the end. Now about the current event, the Interlude of Dreams. Chelsea posted a very long post that I will just give you the TLDR. Two main things. The flowers are not here yet, and we do not have enough Candgetium. Apparently, the Candgetium this year does not follow the 70% rule that I have for each event, and they're probably gonna get some in the Sunblink mail. And regarding the flowers and other items from last year's Hello Kitty 50th anniversary, actually they're not during the new Interlude of Dreams, but during Hello Kitty's birthday window, that is from the 30th to the 5th. That is from October 30th to November 5th. And this is when the flowers will come, and this is also when the collectible cards will be here to be found, and also the 50th anniversary golden items that if you think some things are missing from that Interlude of Dreams, that's normal, and they will come a little bit later during this month. So if you want to read the whole post, you can just stop this video and read the whole thing, or go in the non-issue section of the official Discord. Now let's talk about the black flowers. So for months we worked on the flower bounties to unlock the black flowers. There was an incident where it was released one day too early, and if you did the quest that day, you did not get it. I made a whole video about that. You can come to me during a stream and I will be able to help you, I think on most platforms except PS5, to get it if you don't have the black flower. But we're not going to talk about the issue now. You can go watch the video if you want. We are going to talk about the fact that we unlocked it and what is next. Swampy said, it's been an amazing time to be able to host the flower challenges, and we are so excited to share that we will be continuing to do so after September. Y'all are ready for the October reveal. Someone ping me tomorrow, maybe we can get everyone hyped into a frenzy for something new. And those are the flower challenges for the October. The first two are flowers, and then Kuromi, and then a pumpkin. Okay, cool. I did not even start, so. And then DL Lancer said, will there be further unlocks from this flower game? And Chelsea said, let me think. In Fun and Games, Chelsea said, you know what I always wanted out of flowers? Some fashion. And Chelsea now updated the flower challenge, and what it is, the community earns points every month by creating IRL flowers within the game. We've moved on from IRL flowers, I think. Some of the things are not flowers anymore. Current goal, we're currently trying to unlock a new flower-focused fashion frenzy. To get points, head to the current bounty thread and post images in your in-game flowers that meet the various requirements, blah blah blah. So this is basically everything like we had the flower bounty before. And somebody said, will it be 100 points again? And Chelsea said, I like 100. 100 was a pretty good number. I will quickly talk about the black flower communication of the issue because it will be relevant later. Jesse said in a non-issue, we know something is up with the flower quest today. We'll give more info when we have it. Then while we investigate, please do not start a quest with Wish Me Mail. If you already have Hang Tight, we're figuring it out. And then in an announcement for Switch, hi Switch players, please do not start the quest first of them all until tomorrow. We'll provide additional information shortly. I did not realize it was only for Switch. I'm not sure about that. Anyways. Then there was a full issue. Please wait until tomorrow to begin the first of them all quest. If you're stuck on Stable Siege, use multiplayer starting tomorrow to get the thing, blah blah blah. Wait for the next update on your platform. So basically, the black flower were released one day early, and if you did a quest on the first day, it instantly deleted your flower before the day that it was supposed to be, and it was wrongly coded. It was totally their fault, but that was to prevent people time traveling and doing the black flower. So that's the thing they said to do to fix, wait for an update or have somebody give you the black flower. And then people were asking, why did you not just give the black flower through the mail? And Jessie said, no, we're unable to send out anything with unique data like a flower with a specific color data. If it were that simple, we simply would have done just that. Molly said, you should have made a post message in the actual game instead of a random chat in Discord. Chelsea said, it takes hours for us to translate the message that go out in game. It has been in the works since we all woke up this morning. So what happened with the mail about the black flowers is that during the first day, that was one day early, they sent a mail in-game that they managed to do so quickly in all languages and everything to say, do not do this quest in-game. But it had a 1 day timer, like not 1 day, but just whatever time was left when you open until the next reset. And it was, I think, 1000 fertilizer and something else like crates, something else. And then after that, on October 2nd, this mail disappeared. And so people were annoyed because they did not get the fertilizer. So we're talking about this. Chelsea said, to clarify, the mail disappeared because it was no longer accurate. Because the quest was safe to play again. We have another one that will go out that will have the same info for players who are stuck, but not worded as if the quest should be avoided. We also put it out as soon as we possibly could. It took many people a lot of time to figure out what the root cause was, to make sure we knew what had happened, what quests were involved, and whether waiting would even help resolve it. If there was any other way to get around the quest, if there was any way we could just give the people the black seed in mail, if there was some other means like codes for us to give us black seeds. Then we had to write the mail and get it translated into all the languages the game supports, which is many. I think it's 13 or something like that. The entire day got consumed by dealing with the bug and communicating about it in the channels we had available. See the many posts in the known issues as we're trying to figure out in real time then Sunblink mail in the timeliest fashion we could. Hopefully this gave more insight into the process. We couldn't have gone faster. I'd also love for folks to make suggestions about what item they want in mail if the items were unsatisfactory to them. On the jam jars, that message went out later than intended, specifically because everyone who worked on the Sunblink make lost more or less an entire day on the flower issue. These things cascade, unfortunately, and we're always trying to improve. Regarding the speed of hotfixes, we are heavily restricted by the pace of platform approvals. The minimum time for a patch to go out on Switch is almost 2 weeks, with some possibilities for expediting that are never guaranteed. You can also only submit a hotfix if you have nothing else in the queue. However, so right now, while we have something larger going through Nintendo for approval, we can't submit a hotfix at all. We do release hotfixes faster on other platforms, but they have some sort of constraint. It's also important to note that the black seed problem couldn't be hotfixed. The issue resolved naturally the next day. The solution for players that were stuck required creating an entirely new quest to be the vehicle for delivering black seeds. That's time writing the quest, time implementing the quest, time getting the dialogue sent to Sanrio for approval, time translating the approved dialogue into all languages, time testing the fix across a variety of stages of progressions folks might be in, etc. Hopefully this shows that we have consistently been trying behind the scene, even if it's been bumpy. This isn't to try to invalidate your feeling, just to provide insights. But keep the feedback coming and kind. Then people are actually saying that it's annoying that for the new things and updates, it's only on the Discord and never in the mail. And then Chelsea asked, do you think that something like this, but in mail, would meet this? And then it's an example of the known issues announcement by Swampy, like the quests that are bugged and things like that. Apparently people said, yes, please, definitely, that would be so useful. Minty said, when Chelsea mentioned on the jam jars that message without later than intended, specifically because everyone who worked on the Sunblink mail lost more or less an entire day on the flower issue. And Minty asked, does the flower issue means friendship bouquets and blossom issue, or the flower issue equals the black flower seed packet issue? And Chelsea said both, actually. It's been a lot of things happening on top of each other since the DLC came out, and we are having to be working on a lot of future updates to hit our deadlines in addition to supporting the release, so everything adds up and fights for priority. Wookie said, I have zero desire player to waste event currency with making wands. The item was a need, but I guess in what situation would not be able to turn into a sports eraser ruin your game? Like, yet the spooky treats are cute, but would rather have every color of clothing versus the wand. Like for me, sending out event currency would probably just sit in my inventory until next year. And if it's changed, then it's just clutter at some point. I'm missing something big with the item wand. I figured there will be more silly things. And Chelsea said, you're not missing anything. Collectors are just always going to want to collect, and there's someone for everything I've found. So they're talking about actually people wanting to make wands to transform into the event currency. And so like, if next year you don't have the same currency, then you missed your chance of turning into that item. But really, do you want to be everything in your inventory? That's insane. I don't know. Like, even crafting those bait items, you realize how many different items in your inventory you have. That's insane. So now they're talking about the fact that you cannot go use friendship bouquets on Friends Island anymore. And here's what she said. We also changed it specifically because it allows us to move forward by having quest gated predominantly on friendship instead of artificial wait one day quests, which was a feedback that came directly from our Steam community. This is not a black or white single source issue. It was a compromise that we felt best addressed the feedback in need of the community, created a better experience for most players, only a relative small percent do multiplayer, and allowed us to keep making the game so that people cannot speed through the game by buying bouquets, basically. Space Case said, this has been the standard forever and has never led to anyone being able to run through the whole content at once. There's no time traveling. This is a change that makes an already slow game much slower. There are literally no benefit to it. It takes months to become best friend with everyone. You can only hold 3 bouquets at once. It's not endless. And Chelsea said, I'm not sure what standard you're referring to, as the current standard meant we had to have many wait-a-day quests, which folks, particularly on Steam, but including yourself, had ample negative feedback about. In order to remove those kind of quests for everyone, we had to adjust the gameplay for a much smaller subset of multiplayer users and prevent the bouquet spamming that let folks endlessly progress. And yes, some folks have been awesome in leaving their feedback on the community bouquet ID, which we've actively discussing in the studio. This is a living game and that needs to meet both players and business needs, which overlap significantly. We're always open to be iterating and tweaking that balance. A feedback that says, will our taken bouquets be returned? And Chelsea said, it's not that we knew it would happen, it's that we did not even think about that cause, because we generally weren't aware that there were still ways folks were stockpiling non-deluxe bouquets. We thought we'd fix all cases of being able to go more than 3, so we assumed that set to 3 would only be a benefit. In terms of returning bouquet, there's no way for us to know who had what bouquets, and no way for us to target only those players with a mail. Due to privacy and personal concerns, we can see almost nothing related to player data. That's almost always a good thing, but in that case it does restrict our ability to act. Chelsea shared some behind the scenes, the first sketch of a familiar puzzle. So if you don't know, this is actually the Bell Garden in Wheatflour Wonderland. This is so cool to see the tiny sketch. I really like it. Roxy said, I stumbled upon this message accidentally and I want to say I love to see more work in progress, early designs and behind the scenes progress on making the game. It would be so much fun to see how a certain aspect of the game came to be. Chelsea said, I'll do my best to share more once folks are getting through the main storyline of Wheatflour Wonderland. We can do a few more peeks behind the curtain. Ooh. Oxine said, say, was the story/script of Wheatflour Wonderland written by someone different from the main game? I cannot help but feel like there is a noticeable difference. And Chelsea said, there have been several different writers, writing groups throughout HKA's development, but no significant change for Wheatflour. We definitely tried to have Wheatflour feel like a unique experience though, and took liberties with the magical girl tropes while also trying to capture Kogimun's sweet but oblivious nature. Amore Loba asked, is it you? Are you ID's guy for Sunblink Man? And Chelsea said, I initiated a lot of the design for the Enviro puzzle in Wheatflour Wonderland, so yes, this one was mine. So apparently she did a lot of the text also in the dialogue of the Grand Flowers. D. Lancer said, is there any particular reason we use tofu to make meatballs? And Chelsea said, Sanrio doesn't like meat assumption in game as a general rule, since the character are animals-like and the implications being odd. So under the hood, just assume all meat-like are tofu. Which is weird, is like, why do you even call it meatballs? If you don't need to have meat, actually, you could say spaghetti with tofu. That doesn't sound as appealing though, I agree, but you know. And then Pingu said, talking about the Bell Garden, the last one we can find it, or we get it like in a mission or something. And Chelsea said, the end of the storyline will give you access to a special place with a final melody clue. By then you should all have access to the end of the storyline when you open the Citadel. Then with that you see on the wall and the 3 modifications you see on the floor at places around the 3rd tier, you'll understand what to do in the last thing. Rust was said, how come on Switch in hide and seek game with every Friday there's a room with spooky themed where you can find creatures that is not obtainable in game, or is it? I mean, crow-like creature that I guess is Crowbird from City Town. And Chelsea said, Crowbird is making an appearance in some of this year's spooky celebration theming, which is why he is included. While you won't be able to catch Crowbirds outside of City Town, you might see them around. Singing Chandelure, quick question to developers. Was Sailor Moon an inspiration to the outfits and sequence of transformation? And Chelsea said, we knew from the beginning, given Kogumyun's desire to become an onigiri, that transformation was going to be a key part of the DLC. Magical girl animes of all kind have transformation at their heart, so it was the visual theme we chose. You can find some subtle nods to many of the more popular series within the DLC. A feedback that says, make Flowern easier. Chelsea said, I've sent this over the design team. Hopefully we should be able to tweak either the amount that spawn or the difficulty in catching them or the places where they spawn to even this out. And we're also working on making Wheather able to be more targeted in a feedback post about Wheather and Wheather machine quality of life. Chelsea said, we're working on a new mechanic to allow players to better target the weather they want in the region they want, but it'll likely be a few updates before it can come to fruition. Right now, we're thinking that letting people specify where they want the weather on some cadence is probably the way to go. Whether that means having consumable items you can use from your inventory that will trigger weather in your current biome, or selecting which biome you want at the weather machine, or something of that sort. We're also discussing removing the weekly limit on weather machines if we don't let you specify the location, but I still think it would be way less grindy to just give you a guarantee of getting what you want where you want it every week. Natasha asked, is there a way to possibly get found weather hurts to appear like Uditama do? And Phoebe said, I can suggest that if it isn't already a feature in the works. In your settings, you can have a toggle for showing all the Guditamas that you've seen in the map, and they have a check mark next to them, so you know it's a new one or an old one. In a bug, the 2024 feathers wing are missing for the event stand. Phoebe said, I put this one on our internal channels so someone else can take a look at and let me know if this is intentional or not. This is interesting because many people have mentioned it, that they really wanted these wings and where are they, and I did not know what to tell them. So apparently they don't know yet, but apparently it's a bug. Meave said, Full Fashion Frenzy was November last year, but it looks like they shifted it this year. And Chelsea said, yeah, to account for some changes around Interlude of Dreams and some release dates, you'll see some shifts and additions to the frenzies over the next year. Ooh, and I think I know what she's talking about. Go to the flower section. And Awevi said, how do you buy the old items from the frenzy? Tuxedo-san didn't explain. And Chelsea said, it will be in the spooky celebration past event stuff. So now you have the event stand, you have the main thing, and you have the tab for the past furniture and the past clothing, and the past clothing will have also the frenzies. And I guess it will be like that in the future. So Fall Fashion Frenzy, or there's other ones. Winter Frenzy? I don't remember the other ones, but they're basically just short logging bonus events where you just have cool outfits in that genre of style of the season, and it's not a big play thing, it's just a login bonus thing, but you can still get them in the Bastiment tab. Bokchirisu asks, we have a question about character naming conventions. Why are some of the names for characters their series name? Like Kitty White be called Hello Kitty, Cinnamon be called Cinnamoroll. Josie said, the names that we use in the game are the ones that Sanrio HQ explicitly wanted as their official names. So while we're aware of the lore on some of them, from a licensing and IP perspective, what you see in game are what Sanrio wanted / approved. Trixie Pixie asks, do you match character personality based on regular profiles, or do you watch and take notes from the Hello Kitty and Friends YouTube series? I always read dialogue in their voices. Josie said, we've watched a lot of the Sanrio media, and it's impossible not to have that in mind as you plan and write and design. We try to give each character a voice that reflects their personality and has enough depth for the game. At the end of the day, every line of dialogue ultimately goes through Sanrio for approval to make sure that things stays brand consistent. Kitty and Joya said, when will Denuvo be removed? I really want to play this game on my main PC but cannot install it because of Denuvo. I've been enjoying it on my Steam Deck though. I was told never to install a game that uses Denuvo. It has a security risk for my work. Part of why I have a Steam Deck. And Justin said, hi there, just to clarify the Denuvo thing. It is not a security risk. It does not install anything on your system. We don't use any anti-cheat kernel level software like you see many games do. Those are actually the security risk. So they're talking about Denuvo is a DRM, digital right management thing that usually allows you to only have the thing on one platform or something like that. And so apparently this is a thing that they use but not for anti-cheat. Chelsea said, note that fix more existing bugs and release new content faster are mutually exclusive. We do have a finite dev team and do our best to split those resources between bug fixing and new content, but we cannot do both faster. Feedback that says character give rewards. Punk, Masterfram said the friends gave you the friendship capsule instead of giving you all the items. And Chelsea said our system doesn't allow for character to give multiple items in return. So it has to be done through a single item that then becomes more items. Hopefully the ability to open all at once helps to reduce the friction. I gotta remember at some point it took me like an hour and a half to open all my capsules. Has to be done all manually, one capsule at a time, guys. You have no idea what you're going through now compared to what we did. A feedback that says returning event currency. Chelsea said some annual FOMO is inevitable because events happen only on an annual cycle. The idea of having to wait for events to come around or come around again is just a core part of the experience. The currency changing, however, is a good edge case that we'll definitely discuss. Sage Ardor asks, this might seem like a silly question, but my lower brain is prompting me to ask. Does the puppy with the green shirt and jeans from the promotional material have an official name? And Chelsea said, default dog. That's what we call them internally, at least. A lot of interesting things that people are annoyed about, and hopefully they're happy to hear what the devs have to say about. And if you want to hear the whole story about the black flowers that's here and the whole story about the delay of the City Town DLC, it's gonna be here. And remember, everybody can play cozy. Bye bye!